Let's talk about Mr. Garrett in particular. You helmed this bank, as I just said. He was somebody who thought that the bank shouldn't be around. At least that's what he professed before. Why do you think this administration has been so adamant in keeping his nomination out there? This seems to be a thorny thing, a difficult thing for them to thread. Why keep him as the nominee?
It is mystifying, I will tell you. You have the Chamber of Commerce, the National Association of Manufacturers, the Business Roundtable, and business groups in state after state and companies opposed to his nomination. So it's quite surprising. We can surmise there are obviously some different forces in the White House. President Trump sincerely wants more manufacturing jobs and wants to make those jobs here in America and good-paying jobs, and that's what ExIm Bank does. So choosing someone like Scott Garrett was a peculiar choice, without question.
At the same time,
I think that's why the senators got the questions.
At the same time, some critics of the bank have said if it is going to continue to exist, it at the very least needs certain reforms. Do you think if Garrett does indeed get confirmed that he's somebody who can go in there and make some reforms, and do you think the bank does need to be reformed?
You know, I have to tell you, this is an amusing question to me. I'm sorry. In 2012 and 2015, between two reauthorizations, almost 40 reforms were put in. One by Spencer Bachus as chair, one by Jeb Hensley. Two tough-minded Republican chairman of the House Financial Services Committee. And to say, well, that's still insufficient. The bank hasn't really been able to fully operate since the last set of reforms were put in. When I left almost a year ago, we had complied with every single mandate that was put in the 2015, with a few exceptions that required a board to approve. So I'm a little skeptical. I mean, because if I ask these senators what kind of reforms, they often say, I don't know, just reforms. So of course every agency can be reformed. We've made those reforms. We've streamlined the agency. Under President Obama, we a record number of jobs, record number of exports, a default rate that was about 1/4 of 1%. So I'm a little mystified. What else do you need to do? We have to remember, we have to compete as a country. I just heard Vice President Biden this morning in Chicago against Chinese competition and foreign competition. That's what we need a bank to. We need a reform to make sure it can meet the competition and serve middle-class workers and get them jobs.
I gather that without a full complement of board members, there have been restrictions on how much, what kind of transactions the bank can do. There's a limit of 10 million. Give us a sense of what that's meant for this bank and the work that it does, having that limit in place.
Well, I will tell you, the last year I was there, it was fiscal year 2016, the bank supported, about 50,000 jobs and about $5 billion worth of authorization. The last time it saw a number that small was 40 years ago. 40 years ago. Claudia Slasek at the hearing today said China did 170 times more authorization, $34 billion last year to about $200 million to ExIm Bank. I mean, we are ceding these export opportunities to China, Korea, and other countries while we sit on our hands and wringing our hands, wondering what other reforms it can do to make sure the bank operates in some way that Republican senators have not been able to articulate.